Hi. In this video, we will learn about the Excel interface.
Since you're now familiar with the start screen, we will create a blank workbook and we'll get familiar with the Excel interface. So there's two ways to open a blank workbook. You can go from the Home tab or you can go from the New. So both places you can open a blank workbook. So we'll click blank workbook here. And now here we have landed on the Excel interface. So if you look at the top of the screen, this is what we call the title bar. So at the moment, if this file has not been named, so by default, Excel has a naming convention, book 1, book 2, so on. So if we give a name later on, that name will appear here. And in the middle, we have a search bar. So from here, you can basically search for any function, features, everything on Excel. You can search from here. And as you can see, when you hover your mouse pointer over here, there's a shortcut key, Alt and Q. So from Alt and Q, you can get into the search bar and quickly search. So here you have your account details. So you have your account, and then you have a minimize button, which will minimize Excel. And then we have another button. This is not part of Excel. This is part of Windows. And then you have the cross. So this will basically close Excel, not only this workbook. If you have different workbooks open, they will all close. So this basically closes off the whole Excel application and including any other workbooks that you have opened. If you minimize Excel from here, you can again open it from the taskbar. And this is useful if you want to resize your Excel screen. You can move and resize like this. So if you want to have another document or other application open on the side and look at Excel, you can resize your Excel screen this way. So right at the corner, you have the close button. So if you click on this, it will close all of Excel, including not only this workbook. If you have different workbooks open, all of them will be closing. So this is the way to close all of Excel at once. So if I close the workbook from here, so all of Excel is closed. Again, I have to open from the taskbar. So if you want to open another workbook from here, there's an Excel shortcut that is Control and N. If you press Control and N, see, you have opened another workbook now. It's called Workbook 2. Book 2 is the name of the other workbook. So if I minimize this, we can go back to the original workbook. So underneath this title bar, you see these different small tabs: File, Home, Insert, Draw, Page Layout, Formulas, Tab, Formulas, Data, Review, View, Developer, Help, Acrobat, Power Pivot, and so on. So under each of these tabs, if you click on any of these, so underneath you will see these icons and you can get access to the Excel commands from here. So this area is called ribbon. So under each of these tabs, there are different ribbons with different commands available under them. So these commands will basically help you to execute tasks and actions in Excel. For example, this command will fill a color. So for example, this command will fill a cell with a color. This will change the font color, so on. So on the Home tab, you'll see your most frequently used commands over here. So there's a section called Clipboard. So from here, you can cut, copy, paste, use the Format Painter. And from this font section, you can change the font color, font size. And from alignment, you can change alignment. Number formats are here. Conditional formatting and the cell styles are here. You can insert, delete, and format cells from here. Under editing section, you can have different cell editing options, commands are available. You have add-ins, and you have analyze data, and you've got Copilot. If you go to the Insert tab, you have all of the options where you can insert pivot tables, shapes, art, icons, your charts. You can have different type of spark lines, slicers, and so on, and font and text options. So we will get into all of these in future lessons. Then if you have a touch screen, you will have this draw tab open with access to your stylus, colors, and all that. And under page layout, you can here change the way how you're printing sections. You can set print areas. You can change the paper height, paper scale. From the formulas tab, you can access the formula function library. So all of these functions are categorized into different segments like logical, text, date, time, lookup, so on. And you have what is called the name manager, which helps you to manage your names you have given to cell ranges. And you have formula auditing tools over here. So the data tab and the ribbon is where we come to get external data from web, from CSV, from different data sources, and livestock data, currency data, and so on. And you have the filters, sorting options, data tools, and your what if analysis tools, and groupings up, ungrouping. Those options are there. The review tab helps you to do spell checking and so on, things that you do after you have finalized your workbook. And you can come and protect your workbook from the worksheets from here. If you go to the view tab, this is basically where you have different views on the workbook that you're working on. You can have the page break previews for printing, page layouts, custom views, and you can have zoom options, and you can create new windows and arrange windows. You can freeze the panes so that when you're moving, let's say your heading doesn't move around. So this developer tab, you won't find it by default when you open up Excel. This helps you to work with macros, record macros, and work with VBA. So we'll be coming into this section when we cover VBA and macro recorder. So this, as I said, this tab doesn't automatically, as I said, this developer tab is not by default on the ribbon. We had to manually install it onto the ribbon. And then we have the help options where we can have ask questions. We got some, depending on the country you are in, you can have support. You can leave feedback. You can access training. And there's a community you can join, see the blog, and help with the Excel mobile app. And Acrobat also doesn't come as default. I have just installed that here. And also Power Pivot. Power Pivot helps you to work with Power Pivot and create Power Pivot data models and so on. We will cover that in a separate lesson. So by default, Power Pivot is also not there. You have to install it yourself. So if you click on File, this basically is not part of the tabs in Excel. This is called Backstage. When you press File, you go to Backstage. So we have a separate lesson on Backstage. This set of icons over here, save, undo, redo, and this spelling, this is called the Quick Access Toolbar, or QAT for short. You can store your frequently used commands here for quick access. For example, now whatever tab I am in, I'm at the moment in the Home tab. If I go to Insert tab, Draw, or whatever tab I am in, always the Quick Access Toolbar is visible and the commands in the Quick Access Toolbar is accessible to me. So that's the purpose of the Quick Access Toolbar. And also although I have the quick access toolbar below the ribbon here, generally it's over here at the top. So you can change the position from here. If you down click here, you can go to show above ribbon. And typically it's located over here. So we will get into more details on the quick access toolbar and how to customize it in future lessons. So here we have what is called the name box. So the name box gives you the cell reference for different cells that you're working in. So the cell references have names. So the cell references have a letter and a number, C6. That is, C is the column number, 6 is the row number, so on. And next to the name box, we have the formula bar. So this is where when you're typing formulas, you can type the formula here as well or in the cell. And you can come and see the formula here and you can edit it from here. So underneath here, this is called the worksheet and it's called the Excel grid as well. And the grid has columns going across. And on the side, we have what are called rows. So row numbers are going from 1 so onwards. And the column letters are going from A, B, C, D, so on. Each of these rectangles that you see, these are called cells. So these cells are where you can input data and do formulas and functions. So as I said, each of these cells has a reference or a name. So it's given by the letter E in this case and the O, the number for the row number. So E4 means column E, row number 4. So when we are doing formulas and functions, we'll be always using cell references. So now you know how cell references are used in Excel. At the bottom over here, you have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 like this. These are basically different sheets in Excel and these are the tabs. So this is basically the structure of the workbook or the worksheet. So you have different sheets within the workbook. So each file in Excel is called a workbook and each file has different sheets. And Excel earlier had a limit on the number of sheets you can have on a workbook up to 255. But now with the Excel 365 version, there's no physical limit on the number of sheets. So the limit is basically the memory capacity on your machine. So on each sheet, if you want to see how many rows there are, you can press Control button and down arrow. And you see there are 1,048,576 rows per each sheet. And if you want to see the number of columns, you can press Control and right arrow. And you land up on XFD column. So there's about 16,000 basically columns in Excel. So altogether there's about 17 billion cells in each of these sheets. And you can have virtually an unlimited number of sheets based on your machine's capacity. So on the side we have these vertical and horizontal scroll bars. This will help you to basically move around your worksheet when you want to access different parts of the worksheet. At the bottom over here, we have what is called the status bar, and it indicates the status of Excel. Here it says ready. Sometimes when it's calculating, it will change to calculating. And when it's recording a macro, it will say it's recording a macro. When your workbook has circular references, it will also indicate here saying there's a circular reference. So again, we will get into more details on this as we progress in the lessons. On the right-hand bottom, first we have what we call document views. The first one is called normal view. And then we have page layout. This gives us a preview of the pages for printing. And then we have page break preview. So this again will give the page breaks for printing. Towards the right-hand corner, we have a zoom slider. So from here, we can increase and decrease the zoom. And we can do it with the plus and then the minus buttons as well. But the easier way to zoom in and out with more accuracy is to use the control button and then the mouse wheel. You can turn the mouse wheel up and down to zoom in and out. So first we have to press the control button and then the mouse wheel we can turn up to zoom in and turn down to zoom out. So this is a quick walkthrough and introduction to the Excel interface and its components so that you are familiar with them. We will get into more details on these in the next lessons.
Thanks for watching.